Hi, I'm Caroline.
And I'm Adrian.
And this is Scandal Sheets.
Hello and welcome to Scandal Sheets, the podcast that explores the scandals of history along with the people and places associated with it. I am your host, Caroline.
And I'm Adrian.
You're just Adrian tonight?
Oh, I'm a host.
Yes, you are a host. Last time we checked.
Just trying to edit myself.
Okay.
Cutting out as many words as possible.
That's
so
right.
We can do this quickly.
Yeah, I'll admit we're in a hurry. I'm in a hurry.
I'm not in a hurry. I could stay here all night.
Yeah, okay.
There's limoncello in the fridge. I'm good.
Yeah. Among other things. And unfortunately, I have work to do at home that involves me wielding power tools and pulling up heavy slabs of tile. So
that sounds awesome.
It would be awesome if it wasn't going to be 10 o'clock by the time that I do it, probably.
Well, yeah. The later, the better. Just make sure you get some beers in you.
Actually, I have several cans of cider sitting there waiting for me. So, yay!
There you go. Today,
we are going to be discussing the third person in our Singer triumvirate. Trilogy. We'll be talking about Paris Singer, who was the 23rd of 24 children.
Was he really named after Paris, France?
Yes, he was. Actually, I came across a mention that said that all of Singer's 6 children that he had with his wife, Isabella, were named after where they were born or possibly conceived.
What are the other ones?
Washington. I was trying to think what Winteretta would have been.
I don't.
Yeah. So I don't know. That doesn't sound entirely.
She's one of the 6.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I mean,
and what are the other ones?
Mortimer.
Well, that's not.
Yeah. And then I can't remember.
I mean, there's probably like a Mortimer, Ohio or
yeah, no, right?
something. I have no idea.
They were traveling a lot.
All right, so Paris and Washington count, and the other ones
we're not so sure about.
Use your sleuthing skills and figure out what Mortimer, Winteretta, and
those and Isabella as well. The youngest daughter was Isabella.
Okay, who said they were named after places? Because like only 2 out of the 6
I can't remember. It was not Wikipedia.
Right. Sorry,
but yeah.
Moving on. I thought that was going to be a fun exercise, and it was not.
No, sadly, it wasn't. Okay, we have debunked the theory, I think.
Okay,
yeah. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. Paris Eugene Singer was born on February 20th, 1867, and you guessed it, Paris, France. Mm-hmm. Hopefully you have listened to our 2 previous episodes on Paris's father, Isaac Singer, who was I like to call him the reinventor of the sewing machine.
Sure.
Yeah. And then also last week, or the week, it's not last week, I know. The last time was Paris's older sister, Winteretta.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Paris was the 3rd son of Isaac's marriage to Isabella Boyer, who was a model and a native of France. Now, as we've discussed, Isaac had a total of 24 children by 5 different women, many of whom he did not marry. And actually, I was wrong. Paris was the 22nd of the 24 children. So when he was 2 years old, he and his family fled Paris for England when the Franco-Prussian War broke out. The family settled along the Cornish coast in a village called Paignton, and Isaac began building a terrifically large house that he dubbed the Wigwam. The house was still unfinished when Isaac died in 1875, leaving a massive pile of money behind and a lot of confusion about how it should be distributed. And as I detailed last week, there was a rather acrimonious lawsuit disputing the terms of his will, which left many of his millions to his current wife, Isabella, and his 6 children by her. So Paris was just 7 when his father died, and he received over $1 million. Now, apparently, he got $15,000 a week just in interest from that money. It was invested. So that was basically his spending money.
So when you say 1 million, what that was just on paper. That was not, it was invested. It was in a bunch of different places.
Right.
So the $1 million was the initial investment, and then it could just grow to whatever.
Right. And so,
well, I mean, if you have $15,000 a week, that's just interest. You clearly can
have good fun.
Doing well with wherever you decide to put your money.
Exactly.
Wow.
And it might have been more than $1 million. I couldn't find an actual amount.
Okay.
We just know, that when Aretta received $1 million, it's possible that the sons received more because that's how boys roll.
Correct.
But, so, since Paris and Aretta grew up together, I'm not going to go into a lot of details about his childhood because it's basically the same. Following their father's death, their mother Isabella took them all back to Paris, where she quickly remarried because, as we've mentioned 2 episodes back,
Wait, back to Paris.
They went back to Paris.
Where did Singer die? England.
In England, yeah. There was a 30-year age gap between Isaac and his last wife.
Right.
So she was only 33.
She was 20-something when they married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they weren't really married that long.
Right.
So she was still a young woman.
Sure.
She's younger than me when he died. Her new husband was a renowned singer. And so Isabella hosted salons that were...
Singer, as in la la la.
La la, not a singer. So Isabella hosted salons that were attended by many famous and up-and-coming musicians and composers. So
this is the husband for whom she met the villa in... Nope, sorry. Winteretta, not Isabella.
Yep.
Sorry. Well, but they would have both enjoyed it.
Probably.
Correct?
Yeah.
Winteretta bought the villa in Venice for her husband, but her mom maybe was still around if she was that young.
I think Isabella bought a house in Normandy for her husband. So,
Yet another, when you have this many people in the story,
it gets confusing.
Lots of buildings to talk about.
Legit.
Okay.
So Paris was known to be quite good looking, and I did run across a picture of
tall,
him.
Right?
Yeah, he was 6'3".
Gosh.
Which is pretty tall for back then.
Yeah.
And he had blonde curly hair like his mother. And he apparently took a lot of pride in the way that he dressed and he presented himself. And they said that he remained pretty fit looking even till he died. And I think actually his good friend who we're going to hear about in a little bit, Mizner, sorry. He said that, even when Paris was 50, he looked 40. So he took...
Mizner said that he was 6'3", as you said, and the finest looking man I ever saw.
Mm-hmm.
And Mizner is interested in women, so that's
pretty good. Yeah.
Capable of saying how hot.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. And we know guys really don't like to admit that about each other. So Paris seemed to have a little more interest in education than his father did. And he attended Cambridge in England to study medicine, chemistry, and engineering. I'm not sure how either, it should be medicine and chemistry or chemistry and engineering, but throwing medicine in there.
Unless you're designing like bionic
things,
legs and arms.
The 1880s.
Engineering appendages.
Right.
I don't know.
There is some evidence that he studied architecture at the École des Beaux-Arts.
Oh.
And while he was not a practicing architect, he is credited with designing the annex at number 3 Cadogan Gate, which is was located behind his Sloane Street home in London.
Well, and he took over the construction, at least administrating the construction of the wigwam, right?
That's correct. Yeah. He actually bought out his brother Washington's interest in the house so he could own it completely, and then completely overhauled it into a replica of the Petit Trianon in Versailles.
Okay.
He apparently was quite the Francophile. Can't imagine why. But like his dear old dad, Paris did like the ladies. Though unlike his father, he generally married them. Sometimes not for a very long time, but he did put a ring on it.
Legitimize the relationship.
Yeah.
Okay.
In his late teens, he eloped with Henriette Marais, who was supposedly his mother's maid.
Oh.
And he either quickly realized the error of his ways or his family made him see the light. I have a feeling that it was a come to Jesus moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so he quickly annulled the marriage. And then at the age of 20, in 1887, he married Cecilia Henrietta Augusta Graham. Fortunately for us, she went by the name of Lily.
Oh.
I'm still kind of, I don't know. Lily is Elizabeth. I don't see where Lily.
Probably just like the name.
I know. I mean, Cecilia, a little bit. I mean, there is the L's and the I's in there, but anyway, she was Australian. That seems to be the consensus.
Where did they meet?
I don't know. They got married in Tasmania. So I don't know.
He was traveling.
Yeah. He got to Australia somehow and met her, and they ended up getting married. They would eventually have 5 children together. Herbert was born in 1888. Cecil, or probably Cecil, that's how they pronounced it, was born in 1889. Another Winteretta was born in 1890. Another Paris was born in 1892. And George was born in 1894.
That is so confusing.
5 kids in less than 10 years. My brain just imploded. The family lived in Kensington, which was a very she neighborhood of London.
Still is. So they
ended up in England again.
Ended there, but the children were all born in Australia or Tasmania or
no, I think they were born in England.
So they got married there,
left,
and then left.
Yeah. So I think he was just traveling through.
Okay.
He seemed to be rather impulsive, so I imagine he was just, traveling through, saw a hot chick and thought, hey, let's get married. Because apparently she was not, she was described as pretty, or handsome. That's how they described her, and I could see that.
Handsome women.
But apparently she had a very poor background or poor upbringing, so he definitely did not discriminate, that's for sure.
It seems like an odd person for him to marry if
I know.
She's from a sort of off the beaten path place and doesn't have a name or anything attached to her.
Well, she's got names. She got many names.
Well,
but
she has 4 or 5 names, but not
a name.
It just seems like if you're him and you are a
millionaire,
singer of fortune, that you would marry a certain person into a certain family.
So Paris was filthy rich, as we know, and he didn't necessarily need a job, and so he basically didn't have one. But we do know, from various records that he left behind, that he was interested in various little things, particularly electrical engineering and architecture.
Okay.
In 1903, actually, he was listed as an electrical engineer and an architect.
Oh.
And then it also listed his principal interest as landscape gardening, architecture, and music.
Well, that is also how he and Addison Mizner ended up bonding.
A
decade later, but yes.
Various records also show that he adapted the Dawson motor car engine to be higher. He made it to go faster, basically. And he eventually purchased a controlling interest in the Dawson Gas Engineering Syndicate and renamed it Paris Singer Limited because he could. The company didn't last long, and then Paris turned his interest back to just collecting automobiles, which, of course, were starting to pick up in popularity in the 1890s, early 1900s.
Yep.
He apparently was the first owner of a Rolls Royce.
Oh.
And was known to have purchased Daimler.
I wonder. So when we went to the Mercedes Museum in Stuttgart, they had early horseless carriage. They had the evolution of travel or horseless carriages. And I wonder if one of the ones on display wasn't his.
That would be really cool.
Or at least I'm guessing there was an early Daimler model of what he would have had.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
He also owned Hanhard Levasseur. Never heard of it. Delahaye.
Delahaye.
You have? Okay.
Oh, man. Those are my favorite cars.
Really? Okay.
They're amazing.
Okay.
When there was a traveling show, Art Deco cars, there was a show that came to the North Carolina Museum of Art. Shout out to NICMA in Raleigh. It's a fabulous museum. And this is, I guess it's a year ago this month, that they hosted all these gorgeous vintage automobiles from turn of the century through the, I think 30s, maybe 40s.
Okay.
But yeah, Delahaye has always been one of my favorites.
He also owned Columbia. I know the Columbia bicycles, right? Yeah. Exactly. So, but maybe
I didn't know they made
cars, right?
Yeah.
And Dion.
Huh?
So Dion. So lots of French cars, of course.
Right. I think I saw one of those too. I don't remember what it looks like. Oh no, it's not. You're right. DE space DION dash BOUTON. De Dion Bouton.
Oh, okay. That sounds fancy.
Oh, it was De Dion Bouton Puteaux. French automobile manufacturer and rail car manufacturer, operating 1883 to 1953.
Nice. Okay. Of course, as we mentioned, Paris was also musical, or at least interested in music. So, as a result of that, he was a frequent visitor